How the hell are we starting this? We're
Yeah.
gonna start it with me describing what exactly it is. So that's probably gonna be the big thing. So what we have is we have developers after dark. We have people who are gonna talk, and we have people who are gonna listen, and we're gonna have conversations. Now, the question, right, that everybody is going to ask, if they haven't asked already, that knows about this, is what exactly is developers after dark? Now, for me personally, ever since I was a kid, I I've loved comedy, right? And I've loved watching people who have the ability to have conversations that are very fluid, right? And that can be interviews, it can be podcasts. As time went on, whatever it was, there was a real admiration on my end for that type of discussion. And when you can marry the two together, and it could be something that's fun, and it could be informational, and there could be a conversation. To me, that was the pinnacle, right? And even to this day, there are things that I still listen to whether it's like Sunny Philadelphia podcast, right? Whether it's Bad Friends or watching people like Lex Friedman do interviews or whatever it is. There's those elements there that kind of personify that. And that in particular is what I really wanted to try to create. Not mimic, but I wanted to try to create something that had those really, really positive aspects to it, but revolve it around technology. Not getting too in the weeds with like ones and zeros and coding, but like technology, life, careers, right? For example, like how did you get to the job that you were at, right? That's one of the things that I would ask anybody that would be a part of this. And not just the careers aspect too, but also like being able to, have a conversation about how technology is impacting your life, less career, but more personal, and not to the extent where people are uncomfortable, but having a conversation because that's always been what it's been about. And nothing personified that more than when me and Dennis did the talk at Inbound, where it was like, it wasn't reading from a card. Sure, we read a couple things off of, the slides, but it felt like a conversation. And I think the audience too took from that and kind of like felt like they were having, even though it was us, for the most part until the Q&A, but it felt like a conversation. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to try to take those finer points that I always had admired over time and bring it into something like this where we could then pull in also the things like HubSpot, careers, technology, and things like that. And this is something we, all three of us, had talked about for, I don't know, the longest time now, but it was just trying to like pull in what aspects would make this a really, really great thing to do. And I think those for me, at least personally, are those things. And I couldn't think of any other way to kick something off like this than to talk to both the two people who are, instrumental in making this a reality. So with that,
Well, yeah, just because
Rich, yeah,
software. I mean, my instrumental part is like I have the stuff to do it. So thanks,
but
man,
it also
for
does, and if you're ready to,
people are. I don't know
right.
who's
But I mean, give yourselves credit. It does take a certain type of individual to like do this and participate in this. And that's why, like, even going forward, like the people that we choose, right? It's not just going to be random people. Like, I foresee it as not just HubSpotters, but like, potentially template providers, app creators, it could
Mhm.
also be developers, could be entrepreneurs. Like, I didn't think of people that I've run into throughout my career and throughout my life that I admired, not just because of the fact that they were good speakers, but they were, their take on things, right? Like there was one of the ones I would love to do at some point is my manager that was at the real estate place, this guy Mark, fantastic person, right? Just like when talking to him, like when it came to like managerial stuff and like big picture stuff, he had everything kind of tied up nicely in a way that was just, I was in awe of it, and then that's the kind of thing that kind of led me to this, where it was like, I would hear people speak in a certain way or about certain things that were comfortable, but I was in awe of the way they did it because it was entertaining. It wasn't boring, right? It was something where it's like, I could get in that conversation. I want to have that conversation with that person. Um, so I wanted this to, at some point, and of course, and then maybe, I might have to leave you guys behind like Timberlake, this like insane.
Whoa,
But I
whoa,
mean,
whoa,
Ryan
whoa,
Reynolds,
whoa,
if Ryan
whoa.
Reynolds wants to do one-on-ones, I mean, like, I remember
That was
I'll
quick,
remember you
man.
guys.
I was like 5 minutes into this, so I think I'd be left behind.
I'll remember both of you. Like in the greatest light.
Yeah, awesome.
Just
Thanks.
found. Good to know what family means to you. Jeez.
Seriously, dude. So are we gonna be able to interview the carpet lady from TikTok? Is that part of is that considered technology and how it
Yeah, I could
affects
reach
us?
out. I don't know. I just found out about her today. So it would be they use ground
Interesting.
penetrating radar like they do in like what is it, First Oak Island and things like that. I mean, and there is a technology angle there that you could really do. So that's where I left off.
Well, you
Is
hear
that
that?
there? She was doing virtual digging. She said she was going to do
Wait,
virtual
okay,
digging.
wait. Hold up, AJ. Quick summary of where we have so far, and then
Yes.
bring us
You have
back,
to
please.
explain
Yes.
it, and no one's going to understand. So this morning I took the dog for a walk and I did what everybody does, which just jumped on TikTok and like, anything I could do. And somebody, well, first I was on Facebook and somebody was like, "Hey, have you seen like, the TikTok body carpet thing?" And I went, "What?" So sure enough, go to search TikTok, first result. And literally a woman is talking about her house being haunted. And then she's saying that they were doing some digging and they found a carpet buried like 2 feet underground. And then like everybody was like, "Call the police, do this, do that." So she called the police. The police went there, saw the carpet, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't waste resources unless we know for sure." So she's doing what TikTok wanted. She's digging it
See,
up.
literally,
But before she's doing major digging, she said like, and this is where I left off. So like, after this, I'm going to jump back in naturally because I
course.
can't. I need to know what's happening at this point.
Naturally.
Is she's saying that she was doing virtual digging. So I don't know if that's like related to like the technology where it's like you just
Great
kind of
thing.
like sonar it or whatever. But I feel like that's going to be way more expensive than just picking up a shovel.
plus too,
But
if you
the
find
right.
floor under your
Virtual.
floor,
like usually that's a good thing. Like if I found hardwood under my carpet, I would be ecstatic. I would be asking. Well, yeah, but this is like finding a rolled up carpet in your garden
I mean,
underground. Like it's not like she pulled up, carpeting and was like, "Oh, look, beautiful hardwood floors." She literally was
I
digging
was-
she
through her
doesn't.
garden,
She
was
could
like,
be
"Oh, this could
unearthing
be
something
historic." So she has to be careful as well, right? Like,
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
true. I mean, what if it's a time capsule and inside of there are like cell phones from the 60s, right?
Right.
Like where'd
So
that come from?
in the 60s, they did their time capsules wrapped up in carpet. No, we have all this shag carpet around. We're gonna just like wrap it up as
Sounds plausible,
That's
right?
fair.
Why not, just for people that have no idea who we are and maybe stumble across this one day at 3 a.m. when they're just have nothing else to watch and they've gone through every YouTube video humanly possible. Why don't you both tell everyone who you are and what you do? Sure, I'll start this. Google AJ Laporte, and I am not the musician from Kalamazoo. So I am the other one. I am the like random result in the middle of all of the music results. You give that
and
yeah,
cards with that on there.
I'm not the caliber agent.
You should.
Yeah,
That's
like
straight up the scarf.
so it's been interesting though because like for the longest time when like social was taking off and like handles and vanities and all that stuff, I made sure to try and grab AJ Laporte on everything. So like chances are you go to /AJ Laporte on any social media, it's me with the minus of like I think Pinterest. Somebody beat me to that
Right.
one, which wasn't really jumping on the Pinterest bandwagon anyways. But I basically like I was looking for the ajlaporte.com domain for like 4 years. I was hounding whoever owned it because it was some like handyman service and never got correspondence from them, offered to buy it from them, did everything, whatever. So I just kept following the expires year. And every year it was coming up for expiration.
Or stock. Stock, I think, is the correct word.
Yeah,
AJ, just
every year I was
analogy.
pretty much, yeah. I was like, I had it on a calendar, like, cause I was like, every year it was, renewal. So you knew the date. So every year I would reach out at the same time and offer to buy the domain from them because the renewal was coming up. And every year they just renewed. So eventually I just put it on monitoring. It got available and I bought it. So I was really excited because I was like, finally, I have ajlaporte.com, which is what I wanted. So I started doing all this stuff, making AJ Laporte be like search. And then musician comes along and then everything gets blown away thanks to like Apple and Spotify and all. And so you're the Michael Space or the Office Space Michael Bolton.
It's not
Yeah,
in
yeah.
real life.
Right? This is real life. This is what happens. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But to his credit, he does like he's a great
celebrate-
musician. Like he actually celebrate his little catalog. I have not listened to it. I've listened to a couple of songs, and I have to say, like he is a musician, so that's awesome. He's playing gigs all over Wisconsin
Kalamazoo.
area. I'm sure John may run into him at that point, but Kalamazoo is big.
Did your children?
Do
Have
what?
your children listen to this music?
They have not. They have not. No, because some of the titles of the songs made it seem as if language in the songs were not being that's well.
That's a shame. I would pay you $10 to say that's actually your music and just sell them thinking that this other person is you for the rest of their
Oh,
lives.
they
So
know
think
it's not by now because, like, when it happened, I was like, "I'm not like, man, my Google, like, everything I've been doing to try and keep, like, number 1 on Google." So, yeah, they already
He's
know.
on the border with the like CDs, just kind of passing them out. And
So what is it that you actually do aside from not being the musician in California? Oh, good point. I totally went on the tangent. I go on tangents a lot, but no. So I work at HubSpot with the wonderful people here. I'm a developer advocate or operation advocate type thing. But yeah, mainly I'm focusing a lot now on our processes and like streamlining things, reporting, seeing where like basically where I'm the kind of person where if I have to do something more than once, like automate it. If it's something minimal, like you don't need to keep going and you don't need to keep like repeating the same test every week, 5 times a week, just automate it. And then just keep checking on the automation, making sure that it's running smooth. And when there's hiccups come up, then you fix it, So that's kind of what I do. I really big passion for a lot of the automation and especially reporting in data. As Dennis will tell you that I love data, anything
that
data.
is true.
I get my hands on it, manipulate it, look at it, find trends. I love it.
Yeah, that's why stalking the AJ Laporte with the owner of the domain
Yeah.
for longest
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies to, I think he was in New Jersey, actually.
No joke. Oh my
I
God.
think it might have been around you, Dennis.
So if I go say hi to this person, he's probably gonna
Yeah.
cry and like run away because if I mention your name, it's like this guy's
Oh,
been stalking me for eats.
probably he's gonna be like, that guy stole my business domain. Like,
I let it expire for one
right.
day. Hi, I'm Dennis. Dennis Edson. If you Google me, I am #1 on it. However, a long time ago, there was a guy whose name was Dennis Edson Simile. And I thought it was just someone trying to mess with me because who the hell has the Dennis Edson Simile
Right.
name? They no longer exist on the Google, so I finally overtook them. Um, I hang out with these people here, and I am a developer advocate who is responsible for. Well, the only reason I'm on this show, to be quite honest, is because I have access to YouTube, and Nick is totally exploiting me for this. I'm like, I'll be out of here after the show. This is the one, so bye. It was nice
Well,
knowing
according to
y'all.
Nick, we're both
well,
on it. The nice
Yeah,
thing is this could either be the start of or the end of something really great.
or the end of.
It tells you to look at it. So,
Fun. Fun.
and what about you? What do you do?
me, I do a lot of things. I can juggle chainsaws. I'm really good at landscaping. Long walks on the beach. There's quite a few things that really personify who I am. If you Google me, I think there's a lot. Oddly enough, like there's a lot of Nick Laportes. There's actually. Do you remember AJ growing up? There was actually one in the town over from us. Like literally same name, Nick Laporte. Like the same. Like I went to a party once, and they were talking about this other Nick Laporte, and I'm sitting here with my
No,
friends, and they're like, "If you what it wasn't very good, it wasn't in a positive light." And I'm looking, and I'm like, "That's not me." I'm like, "I don't know these. I don't know what they're talking about. I've never been there. I don't. It was the weirdest thing." And then like going to doctors' offices as a kid growing up, they'd be like, "Oh wait, this is a different Nick Laporte," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And so yeah, if you Google, there's a couple of us out there. But no, I am a technical program manager here at HubSpot. I am also in the same department as Dennis and AJ. I am just on a different team. Basically, we handle the quality of the things inside of the marketplace, and a couple of other things outside of that. But in a nutshell, right, like the quality of the ecosystem is basically what our team handles.
so everyone can blame you for bad things on the
Well,
market.
yeah, like 110%, especially on the template side of things. We're not
Yeah,
There's,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's probably isn't a template marketplace provider that hasn't not run into me yet, at least once or twice. Because at the very beginning, I was the first person who started reviewing everything for that. So, my heart goes out to those people 3.5 years ago. That's a bit of thing. So, but it's like anything else. It's a learning curve. But yeah, I love to do it. But yeah, that's kind of who I've always been a person too who just kind of loves like the technical side of things. Like AJ said, with his loves for analytics and things like that. Also kind of had that same kind of drive.
Yeah, same. I think it's probably why I'm in tech at all, right? I mean, just like the idea of you have the data, you have the automation possibilities. How can you make it easier in your life,
Right.
right?
Actually, I wanted to kind of pull on that thread. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, let's start with you, Dennis. Like, how did you like?
your journey to HubSpot, like, was it a traditional journey as far as a career?
No, 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 no. I had probably the least traditional journey to this point in my life. Uh, I would say in the top 10% of people. I grew up in Kansas on a farm, with, dairy farm. So I did that for a while. I went to college, for English. And then after that,
And also, is that
I
also in
was
For
in Kansas, Hayes, Kansas, Fort Hays State University in Western Kansas. No joke, Buffalo behind my dorm type of place. You both probably be happy to hear there's a Taco Bell in my dorm. So that
nice?
you're welcome.
That's
Yeah. After that, I went to Florida because I had friends down there in Orlando, and I became a photographer with the PGA Tour, which was an awful job, really. Yeah, it sounds cool, but it was pretty awful. A lot of travel, a lot of just, I had to work at Disney's a lot. I know you're going to Disney soon, AJ, so I don't want to ruin it for you, but I had to shave. I'd be like this like pristine person, which is not me at all, especially when I was in my 20s. And then after that, I became a park ranger in Jacksonville, Florida, Fort Talbot State Park, or Talbot Island State Park, sorry. Park ranger there, moved to New York, became a photographer type person. Oh, no, at first I was a gardener in New York. And then eventually a photographer at a lingerie and sleepwear company. While I was there, I also did like IT work and all kinds of stuff. Wife and I decided to have this baby thing, so we moved out of the city, north of the city, and I looked for a job here, and I found an agency that built websites. I had been building websites, like on the side for a long time, as well as like my old company's website, not in like an official capacity, but like I just did it because I was that guy. You know, the guy you can always say like, ask AJ to do that. You'll figure it out. I was that
was
guy.
websites one of the
And
first like pieces of technology, if you will, like from a coding perspective? Was that one of the first things that you kind of like?
no, my first thing, if you want to get into the weeds, like Commodore 64 when
Okay.
I was a kid, that was my first. I messed around with that, tried building things. So it was all like, command line at that point. So I got to coding there, followed by a little bit. I guess I got into. I mean, I'm old, so like I was like the websites didn't exist like when I was in high school,
That's
right?
fair.
Or like they were just starting
Right.
to.
Mhm.
Like we had something called a Gopher. I believe I'm not sure if y'all remember this. This is like an old way of searching, like back in the early '90s, late '80s, something like that. It was like
Right.
Telnet type
Okay.
stuff
Now,
that you could search with. I used that kind of stuff back in the day, and then I built my first GeoCity site.
I think,
Like,
yeah, I think
and,
anybody that's ever done a web has built their, can say that, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
confidently.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so did that, and then, of course, MySpace, like, was where you could start really playing with. I wish I'd be on Facebook now if I could do, like, the front end
What
stuff
you
like
could
you
do,
do on
yeah.
MySpace, because I was
Mhm.
I mean, I was shitty at it, right? Like, I do, like, awful it was not pretty by any means. It was, like, this tiled background. It was, like,
Link
whatever.
tags,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it got me into it and it made me realize this is kind of fun. And so I just kind of kept up with it throughout the years. And I'd have people ask me to do a website here and there. And then I started doing WordPress stuff and PHP. And then as I got to this agency, I had the WordPress stuff down pretty pat. And my soon to be boss said, HubSpot, never heard of it. And I thought, yeah, why not? I can code, whatever. I'll do it. And then, to be quite honest, I hated coding in HubSpot because it was like, wasn't even what was it called back then? It wasn't even the design manager at that point, right? The COS or something like that,
They
where
called it the COS for the web portion of it was called the COS, but I think it was always design manager.
was it? Was it?
Yeah.
All I know is like it was like a drag and drop template thing, and if you wanted to do anything, it like put a code component into it somewhere, right? It
Yeah.
was like yeah, and I hated it, but I learned it, and then I got to start loving it, and I became active on the community forums because I didn't know what the hell I was doing with HubSpot. So I answered questions, which allowed me to learn more about it, became a community champion,
Nice.
and was poached by HubSpot because of my work on the community.
That's a pretty common thing, isn't it? Right? From the going from the community to
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know. I'd love to meet the other person that has a similar
no, I
career
just meant
path
no, not like
that
that. I mean, I
I.
just meant like from like being like whether it's in the dev Slack or the community and
There is a high propensity of a community champion to be taken by HubSpot. If you listen to this, become a community champion because, people start paying more
I
attention
was
to
trying to get a plug into that. I did not work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's how many people? It's like 4, 5, 6 former community
There's not a lot
champions
to
have come over that.
They get really active in the community, and yeah, I think it's just the knowledge that they gain from it. It's almost as if they do work at HubSpot
Yeah.
already. They get to learn a lot and help a lot of people, and that definitely, well, people notice that and people
Yeah,
recognize
for
that.
sure.
Even I know for me, when opportunity came up, it was like I got a link shot to me and saying like, "Hey, we're doing this. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely."
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, like the relationship between HubSpot and the community is pretty symbiotic, right? Like
Ooh.
it's like a give and take both ways quite a bit.
Now, the individual to my upper right on my screen,
Okay,
kind of familiar with that journey, a little bit.
Well,
Lived inside of it for a little while. So why don't you? So why don't you tell us how you got, which is nice because then it blends into the real important part, which is then how I got it. But
which is you, yeah. Naturally.
Wait, y'all are related? You don't even spell your name the same way. I didn't know
we
that.
do totes for that argument.
Well, I
mean,
mean,
there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. We all know that. That's why there's two ways here. But tell us, easy, how your journey got to HubSpot.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was actually following in Nick's footsteps, like especially
Shut
like,
up.
when you have
You're not,
something.
you're not even getting on this show again just by like.
I know, right? Like it's just get the air pump out for his ego and let's just start hitting
You
it
got
now.
you got a whiteboard over here where I'm making tallies of like all of the nice things people say. It's good.
Yeah, but so, I mean, like I want to say like we both have always been very artistic. Like art has always been something that we always enjoyed doing growing up, like drawing, doing all of that. And I think basically when high school rolled around, we had the same art teacher, Mr. Moss, Stephen Moss, who he's retired from teaching and he's in Indiana. He does paintings and he's in galleries and all sorts of stuff. So it's really cool. His work is fantastic, very like impressionistic kind of stuff. It's just great. I'm sure impressionist probably wasn't even the right word, but he kind of kicked off a lot in my brain of like art and design and really getting into like the graphics side of things. And from there, I started doing graphic work really. So more in high school, it was just like doing my friend's band designs, things like that, smaller things here and there. And then once I got into college, it was where, they're like, what do you want to do? What is it you want to be? All that stuff. And I thought at first I wanted to do marketing. I really liked the idea of making people buy things they didn't need. I thought that was an interesting thing. Like, the way that you sell a product and how you can, like the psychology of it was interesting to me.
Would you say selling people things they don't need?
Yeah, like that's what I thought marketing was.
Like,
Ripping people, like what you want to do.
Yeah, and it was because like you got to craft a story around something. You got to take something and really present it to people in a way that they may not have thought.
So is it fair to say then probably one of your first like experiences into like the technology realm, whether and I say coding, but like Photoshop, you do digital artwork, because it's funny because I think like what you started doing originally is probably one of the things that most likely suffer the most over time. And not just because of any one particular thing in particular, but like CD art, right? That used to be a thing where like people would buy the CD sometimes for, maybe a song, but that artwork on there was just impactful. And that's just like one of those things that went away. 100%. 100% was. And, like I really, really, sorry, I'm trying to turn off the notifications from the other Slack that I realized I didn't do. But like it was huge for me. It was eye opening, right? Like, cause, it was a friend's band. I made a CD cover and like insert, and back in the day when like lyrics were actually in the insert and like you could open it up and stand it out. It's like I made this really big like CD insert for me. It was really cool. And I kind of just like kept going with the graphic stuff even when I got into college. And it was great because Philip Age was his name. He is no longer alive, unfortunately. He was a wonderful teacher. But he kind of really supported me in college because there was the TAB, it was the Technical Arts Graphics Association at Eastern. So like I got in really well with that teacher. He was very supportive and really like made you push the envelope of your skills. Like, oh, that's cool. You can do graphics. try doing this, try making this. And it was one of those things where like, it was me and two other people that got to know him really well. And we joined Tata and we were doing graphics. So people would come and say like, I need a design for a bar crawl that a fraternity is doing. Okay, here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's how it breaks out. So it got really interesting there. And then it got to be like, okay, well, let's create a magazine for Tata to showcase to people what it is we can do. So it started like slowly morphing more towards web. And I remember there was one class, and Nick, I think at the time you had graduated already. You were doing web design at the time. Forgot what it was. It was in I want to say Bolingbrook or Oakbrook is where you were at the time. It was like the dental websites and things.
Oh,
that
when
you
I
guys
first
did.
yeah, there was a quick. It was less than a year because then I moved over. But yeah, there were like
So like Nick was doing websites at that time, and like I was like, I'm going to take a web design course here.
What year was this?
Oh Jesus!
Right
to-
after graduating,
It had to have been what, early
2004.
Yeah.
Okay, around 2005.
2004, maybe 2005. Yeah. And
Yeah, right around that time.
I
Because
asked
then I
because
remember-
I don't think a web design course was offered in my college when I was.
You know what they offered?
There was
it
graphics.
wasn't really a web design course, but what they offered was, I remember at Eastern, they did have like a web basics, but like, it just shows you how this ages things a little bit, but they didn't, and towards the end of the course, right? They were going to start to cover CSS, but they didn't yet because it hadn't really caught on yet.
Really?
So
Wow.
that should tell you all you need to know about that.
Yeah, because in that course, it was actually really fun. We started building websites, and I was talking with Nicola, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I learned how to do websites and tables."
Right.
And he looked at me and he goes, "Tables aren't a thing anymore. Like it's divs and CSS and like." And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm not learning the right things?" So really, Nick was teaching me what he was learning, and then I was bringing that back to my class in what I was
The
building.
rate that
And it
things
got to a point
fired,
where
it was like, I mean, it's like that now too,
Yeah.
but it was, you look at that and you think like, well, that's even crazier because it's like, that's not really that big of a thing to go from table, like nowadays, right? To go from a tables website, switch to a CSS website. It's work, but yeah, it's just a different scale, then compared to now.
it really is. And I remember that was my first real introduction, other than like MySpace and, like playing with code there. But that was kind of like my first real big introduction into web was that class, and like talking with Nick when he was teaching me what he was learning. It was really interesting. And I remember bringing back a project at the end, and my teacher going, "Can you explain to me how you did this?" Because it was CSS, it was all of those other things.
Right.
So that was
So you made a
like
web
my
page?
jumping off. Yeah, we had to
So
to make. Go ahead.
No. I was just. I'm sorry. I didn't think it heard me.
Yeah.
But
No, wait. It was like you had to make a website for like a business or for something. And I, again, my friend's band, I made a website for them.
where?
And it was like, everybody else is making like fake businesses or whatever, but like and Dennis, you know this about me, I'm a little extra when it comes to doing things. I like the bells and whistles occasionally. So it's like,
Occasionally.
let's make it a little fanciful.
Never heard this. Never heard of this.
Yeah. No.
I
There's
heard.
I was talking about.
I ended up like incorporating a video into that, right? And like that was huge. Like, oh my God, they can watch a video on their website of like them singing and all this stuff. So like that kind of was my jumping off point. And then after college, my first job was sales in a school supply kit company. And it was because I had worked there all summer long, in the warehousing, doing all that. Nick actually worked with me too. That was
That was a warehouse job we got for a summer or two. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
It was good. It was a lot of interesting stories from that. Won't get into that probably for legal reasons. But it was a good time.
It's a warehouse. You work in a warehouse. You do warehouse stuff. That's
Yeah. But then after that, when I started working in their office in sales, and their website wasn't the best, it was table-based. It was, but when you look at that industry at the time, everybody's was table-based. It was just the basics you could get. So I told him, I said, hey, let me do the website. I'll still do sales, but let me do the website on the side. So I started doing both. And then, we eventually got to that crossroads where, hey, the website needs to be updated. Hey, you need to make your quota. All right, which one am I doing? Because one outweighs another and like help me prioritize. And then I ended up going into like IT at that
Did you
point.
find that?
So I did a
Did
lot
you
of
find
like,
at that time? Is it like at that
because right at that time, like, being on the web it wasn't unheard of? Was it like, but did you find that the company embraced the ideas? Because like, you know what I mean? Like you come from, depending on the company, depending on like the knowledge of the other people there, right? You make into a company and have these things where it's like, hey, we could do this or we could do that. And based on the, it's the analogy of the, like, you either do things or you become the dinosaur on the side of the, internet highway. Did you find that there was any kind of like pushback with that? Like trying to apply some of these more, I guess you'd call them at the time, modern things?
You, you know, at the time, no, they were actually very open to like, yeah, we do need a little bit more like refresh of things. And we do need a little bit more like, style to some of this stuff. Right. And it
Do
was,
they care?
they
You know,
didn't,
like
that was one of the great
yeah,
things. They didn't care. They
that's
honestly
the thing. That's what I was thinking because like I've done the same thing for my old company, and it was like, yeah, we do need to have something on the internet, but it's such a low priority. Like you can do whatever the hell you want with it because not a bitch. Who cares
That's
about the
literally
internet thing?
like back in the week, that's literally what it was.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, we have a website because that's what people do to get to us. But like the main avenue of sales was cold calling,
Yes,
emailing.
exactly.
It was one of those things. And it was a very interesting sales process in school supplies because you would get those emails from people saying, how did you get my information? And it's like, hey, I'd hate to break it to you. Your PTO site has your email listed on it.
Right.
You're kind of opening that up. It's public
Mhm.
information, And it was interesting to do a lot of that. But like that's also where I started embracing technology because I
Mhm.
remember cold emailing, like getting these people, like we would spend literally, there was probably like a 2-week period where we would have our states assigned and we would scour just school listings, PTO websites, grabbing this information, populating spreadsheets to then put into, at the time, which was like a makeshift CRM of SharePoint, right?
Right.
So we spent all this time doing all this stuff. But then it's like, okay, well now I need to email these people. And everywhere I looked, people were just copying and pasting, changing out the information, doing whatever. I'm like, no, this is, you sent maybe 30 emails a day. It was painfully slow.
Right.
And that's where I was like, we can automate. And that was like my first introduction to automation. And it was like mail merge was the thing. There was a toolkit called Mail Merge Toolkit. You hooked it to a Word doc and you sent it through your email. I approached the company and I was like, hey, I want to use this, and this was one of those things where like, again, they were really open to trying new things. And he goes, you go ahead and pilot it. I'm not going to release it to everybody, but test it and let me know how it works. Suddenly I'm getting double, triple the quotes in that other people are getting on a daily basis. And then next thing you know, it was rolled out. And that was kind of my introduction into going into IT with that company. And then from there, after doing IT for a couple of years, actually I was there for a while. I jumped to the agency that I was at last. And that was, they had an opening for a front end developer. I had by then done WordPress websites. I had done some Magento, which was fun to do. A little bit of e-commerce. Like I did multiple different things. And it was interesting going into the agency. And when I got hired in the agency, Dennis, much like you, it was, I knew JavaScript. I knew some like front end stuff. I could work on some websites here and there, but they were like, hey, HubSpot's coming out with a CMS and we need somebody who can dedicate to it. Can you learn it? And I said, sure, where are the docs? And then that was kind of my journey into HubSpot. And then I think a couple of years later, like I said, I was talking, I think it was Zach Wolfson actually, who messaged me and said, hey, we're starting a developer relations team. We're hiring advocates. Are you interested? And I was like, send me a link, man. I'm there. Sign me up. So, and it was interesting because I actually had reached out to like Luke Summerfield and them inquiring about positions within HubSpot because being in the community, being in the dev Slack, helping people, I really enjoyed it. And I really like believe in the brand. I do. And so I wanted to be a part of it. And that was my introduction there. And it was really funny because, and this is a story that John and I always tell for those who know John McLaren, the day of my interview, I'm in the lobby, night before, just get in, fly in. I'm in the lobby sitting there. I had just eaten dinner and I'm walking back and I hear somebody laugh and I go, I know that laugh,
Yes, yeah.
and I look
doesn't
over
ever?
and John is sitting in the lobby. And I was like, I know why you're here. And he goes, I know why you're here. And it was probably like one of the coolest things ever to like run into somebody else from the community who, John and I talked so many times, we all talked in the community at that point. And it was just so cool because after the interview, we met at I think it was Fridays at the time that was in the mall there. And we were just sitting there talking and we literally got to a point where, and this is when you're in a good community, is we looked at each other and said,
I don't care if you get the job or if I get the job, because either way, the developer community is going to move forward based on like what's happening, right? And it was like one of those things where like usually people when they going for the same job, it's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
But that even right there showed me like what this community was about, because we're talking about the same job we're going for. And either of us are like, if you get it, it's going to be great, because then a lot of the things we've been talking about in the community will finally move forward. And then, luck had to be, we both got hired on. So
That's so cool. So cool. I love that
yeah.
story. Man, you don't think that the I can figure it out philosophy of like getting a job is possible these days? Like I don't know if I could actually have the same job I have like if I started now. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Honestly,
Yeah,
because
it's-
you know what, there's a lot of times, especially if you're like kind of browsing through LinkedIn or whatever, you'll find that a lot of the questions people ask are, what do I need to know? Like for this, this, or this, right? And like what's tech stack or what's, and I think because of the fact, honestly, because there's so much more as far as like, well, what framework, what programming language, right? It's, if you make it like generic and broad, it's hard. I couldn't imagine, you know what I mean? Because it's almost like you're picking, like your superhero stats to competing with other superheroes.
yeah.
It's like, okay, well, do I want Superman's laser eyes, or do I want to be able to be, super fast like Flash? And you can't have them all, right? Or
Right,
you can only excel in certain ones, but it's like, especially in a playing field now with so many people, trying to apply for those
sure.
shots. Yeah, it feels to me like I don't think I could get where I'm at right now unless all the stars aligned perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. The alignment and a lot of like trust somewhere, right? Because like when AJ always said, "Show me the docs" when you were trying to figure out HubSpot, I don't think I would have gotten the job now. I did then because I think it was just a different time. But if I said that now in a job interview, show me the docs, I'll figure it out. I don't know. I don't know if I get the job. I think they'd find someone else who already has experience in it.
Whenever, yeah, I think imposter syndrome has a lot to do with it too, because like even like and we've all talked about this to great lengths, like in the past, just in general chatter, like bullet note on my no, perfect time, yeah. But so where for those listening, we don't know his notes. He doesn't share anything with us. He's gonna leave us behind. But no, but yeah, no, I think that's got a lot to do with it, to be honest, because like, I mean, that still hits me to this day, imposter syndrome every now and then, depending on what you're doing. And it's a tough hurdle to get over. And I think once you actually just ignore it and start moving forward, and like you can actually feel comfortable enough to be thrown into something unknown, it is going to be something that will stop some people, but it really shouldn't.
I would
because-
challenge you, AJ. I would challenge you a little bit on your word choice. I don't know if ignore is the right word. I would say accept it and then be able to move on, past it.
I think accepting is a way better word. I'm terrible
you're
with
not-
words sometimes.
It's okay. No.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to, there's certain things you're not going to know. Like I couldn't imagine right now, the way I got into SEO was basically just, the owner of the real estate company said, SEO? Nope. Like, we're going to know. And that was it. And there was like, you figured it out with resources. There were a couple people that worked at sister companies or companies that we were friends with and had relationships that, could help me on if I had a question. They were going to do my job, but, they would help me out. And, it's like, I often, like you mentioned this, I often wonder if that's even something possible today where it's like, you don't know anything about this. Well, we're going to build you up so you do. Where a lot of times it's like, you see the meme where it's like, entry level, 5 years, 10 years experience.
Yeah, right. That couple that with like the work from home, like I don't know if like also I would have been able to build up the trust with people in areas to be able to like go ahead and work on that website. I know it's not a big deal to like do it. I trust you. I'm not sure if that's a thing these days.
I don't think I would have been able to learn what I know now, without being here, like completely in office. I mean, I hated, like, I had to travel, God, it was like an hour and change each way, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because like the things that I learned from like some of the smartest individuals who work within the real estate industry.
We'll cut all this out, right? Because I don't want HubSpot to be thinking now that like we should all go to the office. Let's just cut this section.
Cut that section.
entirely.
I mean, but it's a different time too, because like, our decision, our defensiveness that this is a bad idea. There is There like before there was, I mean, there were pockets of like these things to be able to learn, whether it's what is it, the Lynda's.coms or the, other ones where
Yeah.
Corsa or, Code Academy, but, those weren't as prevalent before. And plus too, I think because the way things rapidly change, um, I don't think those scenarios would even work now because like you learn one thing, right? And it's like React, React, React. It's like, no, I'm more of a Vue.js guy. It's like, even if I was in an office, even if I was in an office, it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I mean? It's the things that got changed. I would literally,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I would have been doing, and again, real estate's kind of like a 24/7 job. It felt like a 24/7 job with like when things happen. I would have been home more, even if I was still having to go to the office. I would have been home more, learning other things when things changed so rapidly, or because there was so much of it that it wouldn't have mattered. I probably would have burned out a lot quicker than I did working, a decade or so in that industry. So,
Would you say that AI agents is in its infancy would be comparable to front end code? I don't think so, right? It's way more complex.
um, you mean like AI agents as in like the way they're being described now, as far as like building them out as like separate? Um,
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
I don't think so. I mean, like when I think about, and actually I had this conversation with a buddy of mine that used to work at real estate, like, which is funny because it's like the way it looks now, like for example, the real estate, like agents you would create would be like a mortgage calculator, could be an agent, or if you wanted to have this sort of like, digital sales agent, an agent would be one that reads like a Word doc, and then that would be like your FAQs from your company, and that would be an agent that then answered these questions inside of like or something like that. Whereas I've never seen any of them to an extent where that takes the place of like front end coding. Although I've seen like, I remember somebody tried to do like build me a what was it? Build me a theme, build me a HubSpot theme for the market,
Yeah.
and it was like, that was when AI was like when ChatGPT was first putting code out and stuff.
Yeah. It was
That's why I
nasty.
think like that's why like I love AI, but I don't think it's ever going to replace developers fully. And like I don't think it's ever going to replace a job to the fullest extent, because like the one thing everybody knows is AI cannot show emotions, so there goes any type of like thing with that. But the fact of like the code that does get generated, sometimes it works and sometimes it's so off the mark, like it's making up APIs. Because I remember there was somebody that had an issue with one of our APIs, and I'm like, this isn't an API. Like, with this, and then it came out like, hey, it's ChatGPT just making things up on the fly to supplement what it's missing. So
Sure. You could say the same about certain human beings, like I think as well. But
there's one on this call, and I don't know.
We don't have to name names. It's okay. Maybe John or whatever. We don't have to name names. That's fine.
Well, I just skipped over your journey though.
I did.
You did. Was that intentional? Or
No,
was that,
I mean, mine, I could say it's not like Dennis's, but mine is unique in the sense like how Dennis's where is a journey that can't say many people take. I didn't go to Eastern and for any with technology. Actually, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, because I thought at one time in my life I was going to be a psychologist. I just didn't really like to listen to people at all. Like I talk a lot, but I don't.
you could have. Did you're not going into it?
No, I thought I could going into it. I wasn't completely oblivious to that, knowing that that is probably one of the prerequisites of it. What I did, but I did, and my wife will attest too. I talk a lot, but there's sometimes where I don't listen as much. Maybe I'm not gonna say that's 100% true. I don't want to give her credit for that, but she might be right. But at the end of the day, I went to Eastern for that. I mean, you were at Eastern for it was a good year overlap, maybe not a little bit more. I mean, we took what did we take? What class did we got? Oh my god! It was the music class. Like, it was history or something. From like, yeah, it was like the history of music or something. Like a certain like year to year. It was like I had to fill in some like things for student aid. So there was oceanography. There was a couple things that I was just like, yes. But no, I did graduate with that. And right out of, once I started getting towards the end of it and I got into that transition where I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want to do technically. I also did have a minor in, it was business, and I think at that time what they call programming or like computer programming, but it wasn't anything, like you took an Oracle class, you took then like a basic HTML class. It wasn't anything like groundbreaking. So from there, I was kind of stuck. I was like, do I go on and get my master's and just try to do this psychology thing, quote unquote, or should I try to go on and maybe because our dad, like growing up in full transparency, was a programmer, and that kind of swayed me towards moving to one end of the spectrum versus the psychology end. So what I did was, I just started applying to jobs, and basically the first one that said yes, that was of some sort of.
Was it on Craigslist? Without
It
curiosity.
has like $5 to type up this HTML in Notepad. Like, what is
Yes.
but
One second.
yeah, no, it was a place. It was like dental websites and stuff. It didn't last very long because I had actually then found the real estate place, which ever since that, it was like a couple months at this one place. The owners knew each other too, which was ironic. So and then I went over to the real estate place, and for almost my entire career, I worked at that real estate place. I'm not going to say the name. It's a great place. I won't say the name, but I'm sure the owner would be like, any publicity is good publicity. Why did you just? But he's one of those people that are too. They're like an entrepreneur that I would love to talk to and just like fire question that because of their perspective and things like that. But long story short, that the real estate place is where I worked for a majority of the time. I took a year or two off and worked here locally because me and my wife were getting married, and then we were talking about having kids. And again, that commute was killer. It was killer. I learned so much, but the commute definitely pushed me like mentally. But so all throughout that, and charts, had been working there for.
Please. Wait. No. We need a logo on that to.
No, let me know. I knew what was going to happen. Can you do it? That is not a paid promotion
For you.
Just to let you know.
This is my sole promotion.
It's zero sugar. It is zero sugar. It's very good. But for the longest time, I worked in real estate in the city, and we're just, transparency outside of Chicago, and the north side is where the place was. But I would say probably into I call it my second leg of working there because I took that time off in between. That's when AJ started saying like, hey, I started working for this place. You should, check it out, check out the things. And I'm like, you just started there. I'm sure everything sounds great. You know what I mean? Like you get that, like, that's one of those things too that you get, not just imposter syndrome, but you get that kind of like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to turn this place on its ear and let me show you, like, I'm going to fix everything. It doesn't work like that. But in your mind, no matter how old you get, that first couple of weeks, you think that's the case. Just like, AJ's probably just, he's just probably really excited and it sounds great and all this other stuff. But, after a year or so went by, that's when he sent me the position for, there was a particular position that I applied for that I wanted. It sounded really good. I got it. And, and that's kind of how I got in here. And then, after, some things got shifted around, that's where I'm at where I'm at currently. But yeah, without that original push by AJ, I honestly don't think I would have like proactively went out. I'm going to go scour the HubSpot jobs again. Let me go see. You got to go see. I got to do this. Got to do this. You don't do it. The way they treat employees here was, I didn't believe it. Honestly, I mean, you work in real estate. Like I said, it's a bit cutthroat, to a certain aspect. The boundaries of hours kind of get blurred sometimes, right? Like I would take a train. I'd take a train home and it'd take an hour and a half to get home. Sometimes if the metro here is not like sometimes always the greatest, but then the minute you get home, there'd be an email that something had to get fixed immediately because there was an emergency. It's just like, I'm like, we're going on 10 hours now. I'm like, okay, let's get this one done then. So, hearing anything outside of that I'm like, yeah, no, that ain't real. Nah, can't be. And then later, you come to find out you have to tell AJ, right? And it is. So,
you really don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, but it's bro, I mean, right. It's obvious. I love hearing. Yeah, I've been here 3.5 years, so it's obvious. Like something was right. I can't, just kind of shrug it off as a coincidence. But yeah, no, and that's where I kind of, and really it was. I'll be honest. Like we're talking about like learning things and was it possible then? it was a real eye opener, like coming here just because of the fact, like just the way, and it's not just because it's HubSpot, but like HubSpot-esque companies, bigger companies, essentially. It's like night and day. Like the real estate place I worked for was big as in like one of the biggest in the city, but the company size. I mean, you have realtors, you have brokers, 500, 600. Those aren't real. And they're 1099s. I mean, they're not real. Like, don't be wrong. I have a bunch of people not. Wow. They have to with that. So we can cut that in post. But they're not core, like they're 1099, so they're not actually like, salary employees. So going from that to here, it was like a huge, and then any little job I had in between, same thing. Huge, just the way things are structured, the way things work. Maybe like, you have goals and you have like what we call, OGPs and things like that. And it was just like, that stuff was up. Yeah, we use Jira, but the rest of this was like never heard of. And I know the acronyms are overwhelming, sometimes, but
They are.
compare that to never using an acronym, unless it was like a real estate acronym, right? Like an HVA for home value analysis. There was nothing when it came to like structurally like it was just, it was mind blowing. The complete difference, right? Almost to the point where it was like huge imposter syndrome. That's why it's like when I first never thought that, I was like, I guess that sounds like a real thing. It was evidently clear that it was a real thing when I went from that level of company to something like this. So, but ever since then, this is where I've been, and I don't regret a day of it because I think I've absorbed a lot more than you normally would if you just went to some other place where you were just kind of like put in a spot, don't move from that spot, don't, head down, punch out at 5. Yeah, there's just a tremendous difference there that I personally, I think like the growth, this journey would have never happened any other way. And I owe a lot to the real estate company as well. But like between that, learning those kind of like ways of doing things, and then here, it was a really, really good kind of 1-2 punch, essentially. So,
Do you get a discount on houses when you work for a real estate company?
I don't know if I should say this out loud.
Oh,
Whoa. You can discount on houses. You can't just be like, no, but I mean, like, you do pay closing costs, that you do pay, like, there are commissions to the realtors and like, depending on who you use. So like, there's things where, that they may not be as expensive.
Just tell me, it's a simple yes, no answer.
No, it's not a simple yes or no answer. That's specifically telling you it's not a simple yes or no. But no, you heard it here, discounts on real estate. Got it. No, it's not like that at all, but like, but there are benefits to knowing the people who are actually like advocating for you.
I'm sure.
What is probably one of the biggest investments, if not the biggest investment of your entire life, especially if you're doing like a house or any condo in the city close to the lake. But yeah, it was one of those things where that experience and then this experience here is, I don't think you could replicate that again if you tried.
Yeah. I think the reason you both work here is like your parents in the will have obligations. You have to work at the same place if you were to inherit anything.
Our mother has always been like, you guys should open up your own thing. And I'm like, you want me to work with who? Like, imagine if there were more than 2 of us. Like the DevRel would, oh man, it would be 2 people just talking all this, like it's a 4, 5, whatever, just talking. It was just like, people dropping out of meetings like crazy, being like, oh, It's always interesting when people have asked me like, oh, you work with your brother, you're not supposed to ever work with family. And I'm like, you guys just like, it's one of these things where people just don't get it sometimes because like the way that we work when we work together is like business is business.
Right.
And then anything that is like a personal thing, like we'll talk about that afterward.
Right.
But like we like our work ethic has always been like, we're here to work during work hours. Right. Like sure, we may like talk here and there. We're not doing like in certain circumstances, I could see where that rings a lot more true. Like if we both, if we were both co-owners of like a t-shirt, company or something like that, where we're making like financial decisions, you know what I mean? Like the decisions we're making aren't, they have a different consequences around them, right? It would probably be harder, and the previous than the latter here, where it's like, we're on the same department. We're not necessarily on the same team. Yeah, we work real closely together, but some of the things, even the decisions we make aren't even ours to make, and either one of us, so, but there's, yes, I think
They also like each other, you know? That's kind of
Right.
I
Sure.
discovered a while back, or maybe just like dawned upon me that because I have a sister and I have a great relationship with my sister. So I just kind of assume everyone has
Right.
that. And apparently that's not true.
Yeah. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't,
I thought that too. I kind of thought that too. But yeah, there's, you know, it's just it's a roll of the dice, I guess, in some circumstances. But yeah, it does help. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, if you don't hate the person you're talking there, which is why I must do. I don't know how we get along so well, Dennis. It's just crazy. But you know, I was gonna ask both of you too, because like, you know, we talked about, you know, quite a bit about like our our history coming to there, and a lot of that's been techie to a certain aspect. There was like a job you could take, or if it was one that you created, or if it was a business or whatever that you could do that was not that could take you away from tech. As much to me, great, you can never,
Mm,
you know what I mean, unless you're on a deserted island, like rearranging rocks. You're never going to get away from technology, right? So to speak. But
yeah.
if there were a job where that could take you away from it as much as possible, that you would do, what do you think that would be? Because I often think about that.
Oh, easy. No, I don't. I know I would be a park ranger. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that you're paid not a lot, you know, I could not support a family on my salary as a park ranger when I was in Florida. Maybe no, I don't know. That would easily that or farmer. I would be a farmer, but I don't know if I could ever get away from tech because I always like want to involve. Like I want to automate things. I want to make things
Right.
easier. So even if I was hoeing a field, I would be trying to figure out a way to automate the thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I just meant like with respect to like getting away from it as much as you could. I mean, there's gonna be things where, you know, like doing something, doing X versus like being an you know, programmer or things like, you know what I mean? Where like
Yeah,
you
farmer,
like
farmer.
I don't know. I
I don't
honestly
think
don't know.
the reason I brought this question up is I think me and Dennis can answer this, but I don't think you can. That's where
I don't think I can.
I don't know.
Ooh.
But I don't think you can. You go heavy on things that you do, and I don't think you could
Yeah.
separate the two. Even if there was like, even if I told you like, okay, your job right now is going to be painting, just painting walls, and that's it. Like with a brush, not like you would find a way.
I
You would
would.
figure
I would
to
find a
make
way
it
to get like a
super
rope
technical.
wall. And, like, I would. I over technical engineer everything, and like my wife even constantly is like, I don't need a solution. I'm just trying to explain something to you because like my mind is always solution based. Like, well, we can automate.
Yeah,
We can do that. Like,
lost therapy to deal with that, my friend. That's you're supposed to acknowledge, right? Come on.
Yeah, full transparency. Like, it is really hard for me sometimes to separate, like, you know, like the work life balance. Like, my mind is
And
always
reading
going.
my
My mind
note,
is
I
always
feel like you're
turning.
reading my note because everything you mentioned is like literally the next thing will work with. I'm not even.
We're
I'm
brothers.
kidding. No. Somehow it's weird. It is weird. It is weird. But it is. It's just like I don't know if I could do it because like I am kind of like the work life balance has probably been the hardest thing for me. Especially since going remote. Like when I worked in an office, like it was much easier. The drive home was my decompression period, right? Here it's a little bit harder because it's like, okay, hey, it's getting to 4:30. Oh, I gotta go pick the kids up from school.
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
hey, I gotta go do this. And it's like I walk out of the office, but like I hadn't really left the thing. So like I am like going on walks now, like after work. Like I'll take the dog for a walk, like do things to kind of try and clear my head more. But like I don't know if I could
You
ever
can.
give up
Yeah,
technology. What about
art.
art? What about art?
Could you do art as
Yeah.
a
I used to. So my favorite thing when I was younger is I
Probably.
used to draw, but I would do it in ballpoint
No, he
pen.
would do it for an AI.
He would do some sort of AI drawing. You know he would. You know he would. And I would. I would. Like now I would probably just draw
He'd be
computers.
running art
Competitions for AI bots or something. You know it. You probably would. Like I do. I just love technology a lot. But honestly, if I had to, mainly because like thinking about it a little bit more, it does involve technology, but this also wasn't a thing when we were younger, and I really wish it would have been. But like esports, like I probably would be very heavily involved in like video game tournaments and stuff like that. True. I guess I would push back on that just a little bit as I'm actually terrible at them, but it actually please let me breathe that. I'd say it'd be great. Well, I'm actually kind of glad we kind of grew up and I can remember I was just talking to somebody about this, but we grew, maybe it was you, Dennis, when I was chilling down a bus with you. We grew up in an era where we didn't have And now we have, right? And with
Yeah,
a
for
lot of
sure.
aspects. And I think
Yeah.
I think that makes it easier for me to be able to pick something and say, well, if I could, me and my son, we drive by this, like commercial lot of buildings, right? That don't have anything in them yet. They're smaller, right? So they're like smaller, short kind of buildings. But every time I drive by it, I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to open up a coffee shop right there. I want to open up a coffee shop. Now, granted, you're going to have technology with, I brew stuff, or, but like in its most like basic form, I just want to like make coffee, serve coffee, have a coffee plate where people can sit down, like the whole like piped bar stool.
You manage it?
Oh, the whole
manage
thing.
it,
I meant do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do the, and even if there was some marketing to it, like, hey, build me or make me a logo. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? Or build me a website. Someone else do it. I'll look at it and be like, yeah, looks good, but just do it. I don't even want to do it.
I could so could you do that if you delegate? Like, let's say like your favorite thing, but you delegate these tech tasks to other people. Would you be able to?
Yeah, I could probably do that. I know growing up, I always wanted to do animation for Walt Disney. I always thought that and this is going to sound super cheesy, and it always does. But like when I was younger, my reasoning when people would ask me is I was like, put a little kid in front of a TV and show him Mickey Mouse and tell me that expression isn't priceless. Like
Mm.
it's not to me, like it wasn't so much about the characters or the things that you were drawing. It was the joy that you brought to people through a story. And I think that's what made me fall in love with marketing is like the joy that you can bring people just by simply telling a story in the right way. And so thinking about it, like if I had to go back, it probably would still be animator for Walt Disney now. Cause like, as we've been talking, like I was thinking about like, what did I want to do when I grew up? And like, so I think it would be that because like it always interested me, like seeing those drawing sessions of them, like bringing the lions in and like drawing the lions and like, and doing stuff like that. I always felt like that was such a powerful thing to be able to create such emotion
Yeah.
with pen or like a, pencil. So I think if I had to, it might be doing like animation stuff, which still today's is technology based. Cause like my kids love the show Bluey. And the first thing I did is rather than look everything up, I was like, what do they use to make Bluey? And like, I found the software that they use and I was like, how much is it? Could I do this? And
He's
I
not over
suddenly
techy on that at all. No.
no,
Not at all. No.
like, I don't think I could ever stray away from tech, but I would probably do like animation and stuff like
That's
that.
fair.
It's fair. It's honest. You can't get away from tech. It's always going to be there.
Exactly,
Plastic,
yeah.
right?
Just
How much it like takes over your mind.
it's how much like, in that separation too, like, cause you can do, like I said, like I would be like, yeah, go ahead, make me a website and I'll just let you know if I like it or not. And then, I could do that.
Or can I ask both of you a
Yeah.
question? Like,
Mhm.
because you're a little younger, right, AJ? How many years?
3 years. Still.
All right.
No,
All right,
regardless,
hold
10
on.
years older than you. What numbers into this? I thought this was
So on that walk you take with your dog, AJ, you said you were looking at with the TikTok, right?
Right.
Both of you, if you were to walk, do you require looking at some sort of device to?
No, not. No,
Okay.
no. For me, this is something that just piqued my interest because I was like, "Armchair detective, put me in." Like,
Well, yeah.
So I was excited for that. But yeah, usually when I'm walking, it's more just like nothing on, like no technology, nothing, just walking the dog and
Yeah.
taking in what's around me. Because for me, I need like there's a lot of people that can be like, "Oh, hecticness is happening. Cool. I'm just gonna go over here I need quiet." Like for me, pure quiet, dark room. Like Nick, you and I were talking yesterday, and you brought up that episode of Sherlock where the guy has like the goggles, right?
There.
And he's got, and it's really it's just his brain doing it. Right. So like, there's this scene in there, right, where he goes into his vault, and they're trying to figure out how to get in a vault. What is the vault? What is vault? So spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the episode, don't listen in the next 5 seconds. There is no one. We open up the door and it's a blank room with a chair and that's it. To me, that is like Zen. Like put me in a room with a chair, no windows, close the doors and just let me think it out real quick. And then that's where I do my best.
People call that solitary confinement, but I mean, yeah, the premise, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, for me, like the quiet lets my brain just keep like rapid firing. And then eventually it will run out of steam and I will have
formulated what I need to do, and now I'm ready to move. So
That's a good segue because that actually work-life balance was going to be the next thing, which obviously we read somehow. But yeah, that's I can appreciate that. Dennis, do you find yourself doing like similar things like that? I mean, like there's people who can operate, in chaos. Like sometimes chaos is like home, as far as like things going on all around you. And then, there's the other end of the spectrum too, where it's like, I need everything. Like, and with technology too, with the work-life balance as well. But
Yeah.
I even have a rule where it's like no phones at the table or reading, or
Yeah. Good for you. Good for
yeah, I can't always, I don't always follow it, but like, do you find yourself, can you do it in the chaos like that, or do you need sort of,
Yeah. I'm kind of similar to AJ. Like if you get AJ and me in a room or in a Slack game or anything like that, we can go crazy, like off, like into weird places that does not help the situation at all. Like, I can happily live in chaos. I love living in chaos, but it's terrible for me.
right,
Like
right.
I have to pull myself away from it. And I'll be as cheesy as possible now. Now that I have a kid, honestly, like that has been kind of like the anchor that has allowed me
Not
to,
easy.
decouple from
Right.
the chaos. And like when she gets home, my mind kind of like changes and I become more like family first type person. But I don't know what I'd be if she wasn't around. Like I love my wife and all, like, but I would still be in the chaos. I think if the agency life was really, I mean, that was it. Like it was just fast, it was furious, it was crazy, it was 24/7. You just don't know.
Yeah.
You're launching a website at 3 a.m. Just for someone in Germany. It was, I don't know why there, but yeah, I loved it, but it was awful. I mean, it just didn't stop, and it's just not good. So yeah, I am a huge fan of the work life balance, and I don't know why we're plugging HubSpot so much. It's, I guess to stay employed, but ever since I've worked here, it's been easier, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
I can actually leave when I need to go pick up the kid, or if she has an event, it's like I'm not going to be here for a few hours, or I need to take a mental health day.
Yeah.
Those types of things are like actual real things.
Yeah. And it also, I think it helps too, because like they hold you to that,
True
right?
clock.
I'm
It is true
glad that
clock.
got in. I'm glad that got in.
Oh,
I'm still wrong. I try my hardest to mute when it comes to the hour, but it just got to
anyone
like,
who listens to this now, that needs to be like a staple in like any,
Yeah,
that's,
I seriously going to make coffee cups or shirts with your.
I would 100% rock that.
Anybody
Like,
did,
it is,
anybody
it is
did hear that, he has a thing on his computer that tells, like, talks to him.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the accessibility settings.
Yeah.
I have it read out the time on the hour, and honestly, it's part of work-life balance,
Right.
because
Yeah.
like it's
well, we
now
did this
2:00.
well,
Right?
wait, stop. We did this.
No,
This
it's
was our first bit.
intentional.
No, I
Wow.
did.
Yeah.
I did, because the biggest thing, right? So one time, this is the only time it's ever happened, and I still don't hear the end of it every now and then. I forgot to pick up my kids from school, and it was because I lost track of time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And it was like, like it was one of those days where like the wife and I we flip flop. Who's gonna pick up kids this day? Who's gonna pick them up this day? And it was, she had something at work. I need to pick them up today. Got it. Cool. She said it to me in the morning. As my wife will attest, she'll tell me things and it is in one ear, out the other half the time. If I am on my phone or on my computer, I cannot multitask and have a conversation. But like if it's like random slacks, I can do that. But if it's physically talking to somebody and typing, I can't.
cut this.
And so I forgot to.
We'll cut this if DCFS calls. So we'll just,
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But
Isn't it
basically, I
I
took
don't
that
know what
out.
happened. It's weird.
Then when it tells me 3:00, I'm like, gotta go get the kids. So
great.
like, it's whatever. No, it's so like to me that is part of like the work-life balance thing, is that. And like I think, and how you said like we're promoting HubSpot a lot, but like there literally has been times where like it's been like, hey, you haven't taken days off,
Right.
go take some days off. Or
Yeah.
like, hey, are you okay? Like you seem like that you've got a lot of work on your plate. You seem like you might be stressed. Is there anything bothering you? Well, yeah, like this, blah, blah. Okay, why don't you go like go take a longer lunch, just like breathe a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Like, they don't just like make you work. They like hold you to a standard of a healthy work life.
It's pretty
balance.
fair
So
to
I think
say that it
it's-
doesn't exist. Like a work life balance. I mean, it exists, but like for me, like it wouldn't have existed like previously. And again, it's not a knock on the real estate business or the place I work. They treated me very, very well, but the work life balance was not it couldn't be established with like the things I was trying to do there and they wanted me to do versus here where it's like, even things they HubSpot wants me to do. That first year I was here, Chris, the Chris that I knew, would be like, "It's 5 o'clock. Get out of here. What are you doing? Like, why are you still?" And I was like, "I gotta get this done. I gotta get this." He's like, "No, he's like, it'll be here tomorrow. You're fine." Like that. It showed its face a little bit in real estate sometimes, but like here, it was almost like a staple. Like it was always you could find it, which was just mind blowing to me on it.
A curious thing, the thing's actually missing on our team is, when I was in the support side on the community forums, there's a lot of people from Europe who work there who would take 2 weeks off instead of one. And it's like a European thing, right? Like they are cool. And 2 weeks off is actually where you actually disconnect from work. Like that first week, you kind of still think about the second week, you actually melt away and you enjoy it. It's so American of us. Like, I don't know if anyone on our team's actually taken a 2 week vacation, since.
I don't know. No,
Never.
like, I'll take a day off and then I'll still like at 2 o'clock be like, "Oh, I gotta review this thing." Not like I don't.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I get told like, "Don't do that. Why are you doing that?" It's not like I'm that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doing it for like 12 years, in another vertical.
I know it's enough,
actually-
right? It's
man,
hard.
it's hard.
Well,
Well,
this weird guilt.
I know our internal Slack is very interesting for the fact that have you guys ever messaged people on your day off when you've marked it as a day off and it's
Yell that.
says, "Hey, it's your day off. Why are you right?" I love them. That was when I saw that I was like, this is just another reason as to why like even like they're literally telling you took a day off, take a day off, and like I just think it's fantastic to be able to do that.
It's hard to do that though, isn't it?
It's super hard. It's super hard. It's yeah. Why don't we jump to, let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about work-life balances, and then getting away from technology, but let's talk about things that are more like things in tech we're excited to see. And it doesn't have to be, it could be like a product, it can be like a thing. It doesn't even have to be related to HubSpot or anything like that. I mean, I know, and granted, we work there, so we should mention, right, we just had a conference in which we talked about quite a few things that are brand new, right, from a technology perspective. But like for example, for me, and I'll steal this one because I don't think anybody really knows of its existence because it's not something normally people look up. But for me, continuous glucose monitor, they just pushed one, or I think it just got FDA approved. That's a year long, which I still have to read. Like I'm just reading the headline, and to me, I was like, because the one I use is like 14 days, right, to monitor blood sugar. And I think the competing brand, and I won't mention the brand unless they want to promote us, always thinking like a marketer. No, but no, like it only lasts 10 days. But this one that they said is for a year, which I thought was quite interesting due to the fact like you have to replace these things for infection reasons and like other things like that. So for me, it was just like seeing it come this far, just the way it is now, where it's like, oh, I can continuously check my blood sugar for 14 days straight with my phone. Right? There's some inaccuracies. You should always. I'm not a doctor, always, consult your doctor, but you should check it, the finger sticks as well. But just this alone, and now going from 14 and now they're talking about a year for me and from a technology standpoint is like awesome. I love to see it. I'll follow it all day long. And for me, that's one of the things where it's like, I'm excited to see that where it can go.
That's, the problem with you starting and maybe saying anything at all right now is that what you were talking about is actually useful and not superficial. Like my thought was something new and cool was who cares if it actually exists? Yours actually has like life altering features to it. Mine is like, whatever. I'm a huge fan of Home Assistant, which is like, home automation. Like instead of using Google Home or Amazon, whatever, you can build your own Raspberry Pi and do all kinds of fun things with home automations. I love that. It does nothing like maybe we can tie in your mod of the
I mean, it just has to be interesting. It doesn't have to be like, that was interesting. I had other ones too, but I took that one because that was the one that was related to me. I was like, I mean, I'm sure it read my notes already. It probably has the other ones, but no, what automation stuff? I'm interested in
asshole now. Like,
no, I'm interested in the home automation stuff too. I love that's another interesting thing to move.
Yeah. No, the fact that you don't have to like have like when you do with Google Home or anything, you always have to have an internet connection, right? And with the Home Assistant, you can do things totally locally. So also you're your data's not stored. Well, I mean, at this point, my data's already all stored there. Notice I'm
That's there,
the
like
yeah,
it's
myself.
everywhere. Like I've gotten, do you know any like data breach leak mail had things. Do you
Level of value. I mean, like everyone, like, yep, I know. What am I going to do about it? You
Well,
know?
yeah, I mean, more. I'm sure we'll get sued, but thanks Home Depot. Thanks everybody else. Like I've already got the 3 other ones that have told me the same thing from 3 other big companies. I'm like, at this point, I might as well just put it on a website and say, this is my information that I'm willing to part with. Like this is on my credit card. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. But yeah, and
My take on the information is that even if you don't give any information away, your purchasing patterns, your habits, everything can still identify you. Everything can still do. And Dennis, I think I've told you this before, and Nick, I know you've probably heard me talk about the story of way back in the day, and I say way back in the day, knowing clearly that I'm 40 and I sound like I'm 90. There was an article that came out of how Target knows you're pregnant. Do you guys remember that?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
And
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing
yeah.
was is that a dad got really mad because Target was sending offers to his daughter that revolved around like baby stuff. And he's like, this isn't right. And it turns out the daughter was pregnant. She just
Yeah.
hadn't told
How
the
many
dad.
years ago was that?
Oh God,
It was a while
it has to
back.
be
Yeah.
way over 10 to 15.
Imagine how much has changed by now.
That's what I'm
Jeez.
saying. And like, it's one of those things where like, this has always been a thing. It's just because of the advancement of technology, we know more about it, right? It's the same as like nowadays, safety is safety first when it comes to kids and things like that, right? All of the things that are happening in the world today were still happening back when we were younger and stuff. It's just, it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't real time. There was no TikTok and Facebook and things to get that information right away. So more, these things have always
Right.
or more.
Did
Like
you all?
digital photos and
Did
stuff.
you all read this? Did you all?
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Wow.
Did you all just read the story on, I don't know what it was on The Verge or something like that, about the meta glasses?
Yes.
Like people were on a train and like were able to dox people like real time.
Yeah.
So like it takes pictures, it goes to Instagram, like does a facial
Yep.
search, and then it goes and gets databases and brings up all the
They
information.
were taking the glasses and sending the feed to an Instagram live.
Yeah.
And then they were using another computer to monitor Instagram live and use AI to recognize the faces and do public searches on databases.
Real time.
In
They're
real
talking
time.
to
And so
strangers,
like
like they knew them.
that's like and the technology you gave AJ was that's what the I can't remember. Is it the Reinbach theory or whatever? I think that's the episode of Sherlock where it's like that literally when that episode was made, this wasn't even a thing possible. You know what I mean? They made it like, oh, this guy just knows everything because they show like, again, not to spoil it, but they show like through the eyes of this individual that's Sherlock's nemesis at the time. And he's like, you know what I mean? It looks like little information is being printed and you assume it's his like reading glasses that are doing this. It's some crazy technology. That's now live. It wasn't. It ended up being just, his brain knew this stuff. But now that's kind of real and is possible because it's like the glass. And I'm sure that's not the intent. I don't want Meta being like, I'll get a letter of cease and desist. But it makes the reality that much more closer than humanly possible. So it is one of those things. And again, and like not to like go backwards, but to kind of tie that in with technology and kids, it's like, you know what I mean? Like digital photos, all of the stuff. It's just one more thing to have to worry about is like, now what can they do with this? And it's, that I have to say is the hardest thing. Like that is like, we're in that era of raising kids on this modern technology. Like looking back to like when we were growing up, it was like, oh, hey, we have a computer. Yeah. It's command line to start Windows. Like we're not really going to be getting into crazy stuff here. Whereas now it's like all the rage and like it's hard to keep up with sometimes, like even working in tech, it's hard to keep up with all of this stuff. Like my kids are talking about wanting to play, and I'm not going to say the name of the platform, but they want to play an online video game and I won't let them. And it's because I've read things, and I've seen things and it's those types of things where like, it's hard to protect our kids all the time from technology. So like we do embrace technology in the house, but at a strict level of like, hey, like you're not going to be playing video games all day long.
Right,
like
for
kids
sure.
come home from school, you can tell if they're stressed or if they've had a bad day. go release the stress. Like players have it for a little bit, but then we're going to do homework, or we're going to go. Like I make the kids go on a walk with me sometimes at night because I'm like, no, we just need to clear our heads. It's been a crazy day, So it's things like that. But like, yeah, technology is moving fast, and like I can only imagine what like if my children decide to have kids, which is totally their choice. But like if I have great kids in the future, what is that going to be like?
Right.
Wow,
Because it hasn't really been that many years since all these advancements in technology.
It's
Right?
that weird,
And
like
I
race it, but
it's that weird battle in that line you're trying to draw where it's like on one end, you don't want your kids to be like cave people banging rocks and drawing on the wall. And at the same time too, it's like, I don't want to be one of those. And I feel bad for them sometimes. But like you're at a restaurant and you're, even if you don't have kids, right? Even if it's a nephew or even if it's like, somebody that but you look over, yeah, I'm not one of those people that I'm not going to assume something, but like you stare at this other family at the table next to you and it's all four of them are just like this, right? Like at the table, and I'm just like, somebody throw a pie, like something, you know what I mean? Like you have a conversation. Like that's why I try like as much as a human we can. It's just like, no faults at the table. Like my son will love to play video games as well at his age, and right the minute he comes to the door, can I play? And so, no, dude, I'm gonna read a book, go run around, go do something else, then maybe later. But then you got work. It's a strict. Like
we played video games when we were kids, right? I mean, we did do it. It was just like not all encompassing
because
the
they weren't nearly as good as they are now too. That's like. They were great for like when there was nothing to compare it to. Sure, they were awesome, but like it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like if they had the games they had now, it sound like I know I sound like a million years old, but like just
we should probably retitle this podcast to something like old developers.
But no, they did that. The quality of it, the online presence of it, and all that. I would have never. You know what I mean? Like they had stuff like that before, like Ultima Online and things like that, where it was like, it was a massive multiplayer one. I mean, it was like 2D stuff. You weren't sitting there. Nothing like now, where it's like, you could see where people just get immersed, kind of like Ready Player One. Essentially, I think that movie. Yeah, I could see that being a reality at some point in the future, and
oh yeah, definitely
cool because of the technology factor, but it's terrifying because of the what it does to our humanity in general, So, but yeah, no, that's one of those things too. Yeah, where it's hard to, like, where do you draw that line? It's a really hard one to do for sure. Yeah. It's something because I mean, if you think about it, you hear in the news stories all the time, oh, people hit by cars or people walking off cliffs because they're not looking up. Like they fall into what was the one in the restaurant where I can't remember if it was who it was, but they're like they worked at the restaurant, but they're walking and they must have had one of those what is it? Like the storage things that go downstairs, and it was open, and they're just walking with the phone, and just I'm like, straight down. No, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, how do you have it? Like, yeah, it's one of those things where that was the hardest thing I had to instill into the kids is like, listen, when you're on your device, when you're walking, your device goes down.
Right.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
Right. So like, they're good at it now. Where like, we'll go to get in the car and like they're playing, and then all of a sudden they put it down and walk to the car and get in. I'm like, that's all I want out of this. Like, if you learn anything, please just never put it down when you're moving, because last thing I need is you get taken out by the dog or like smack your face into the car. Like that would be horrible. So
there was a story recently about a person whose family member was choking at, I don't know where they were. They went to YouTube to watch a video on CPR, and they were complaining to YouTube because there was an ad at the beginning of it. So they couldn't. By the way, it's like, why? This is where you should not rely on technology. You should already take a CPR class. Like you should know these things.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I have to every year. I have to rewatch the video of how to start my snowblower because I can never remember like on valve, like which way the valve is supposed to go. And it's so funny because I watch the same video every year, and it is the sweetest. It is the sweetest older man and his wife. And like they're joking around at the beginning, and he's like, "Are you recording now, honey?" Okay, like it's the greatest video ever. But like, if that video went away, I would probably not know how to start my snowblower.
Does the view count go up by one per year? Like, is it just you, the only person that views it?
You would think, but it gets tons of views, and I'm like, yeah, because this is a staple right there. Like, this is funny. they need to hire this man and just be like, oh, you bought the snowblower? Watch this. Like, like I used to give you VHS tapes back in the day for 4Ds and stuff.
Right. By the way, AJ, quick plug for all things electric. Get an electric snowblower because, man, that's so much nicer than gas.
Yeah, I need to get so I use a lawn service here, and like I have a lawnmower, but like I want to get an electric like weed whacker and things like that. So it's definitely one of those things where like, yeah, I need a
Lawns.
for somebody who loves technology. Like I don't embrace it nearly as much as I should in the house. Like the house web.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I literally
guy-
have shears. Like I still like the bushes in front. Like I'll use shears. My wife's like, just use the trimmer. And I'm like, it intimidates me. I don't think there's a limit to what you'll accept in technology. And that's that limit right there. That is it. Yeah.
That's
awesome. That is awesome. So here's what I was thinking we were going to do. Because I'm probably getting close to time for our episode. I did all.
Yeah, I've been doing for a while. I've been done with you for a while.
I know.
so,
I know.
yeah,
I was just trying to find a gentle landing with just hating each other and logging off. I had always watched for the longest. Again, I'm trying not to show but I believe it was Craig Kilborn on The Daily Show, and
Yes.
he always used to do these like it was like rapid fire 10 questions, right? And I always used to like it because there was no good answer, or sometimes it was literally asked in a way because it was supposed to be like you weren't supposed to be able to answer correctly. So I wanted to like end these, and we'll see how it will go while this goes. It depends on who you're talking to too. Like if it's someone really serious, or it's just like they're just gonna be like, "This is dumb. Thank you. I'm not gonna." But I'll need you guys to keep honest. Because I'll ask the question, and each one of you can answer, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. And then
Wait, do I need to put like on headphones? Something
Hold
that's
on,
going well.
yeah,
you guys do
quiz
it.
show. Is this like quiz show? Like, are we going to feed him the answers when he's got them on? You both I've got a headset here. I can just kind of throw. You can both answer, but just be honest with your answers. And if one gives, just so that we'll do it like that. I make no guarantees, but
I know. Hey, like I said, this could be a complete failure, and then I could just blame it on both of you and just say it was your idea.
So I mean, we're cut. We're good here,
Wow.
and we can do it like that. That's fine. I have no problem. You've been doing it your whole life, Nick. It's fun.
Perfect success. Obviously, I need to take most, if not
70-30. We'll call it a
Noted.
70-30 split. We're all
Oh, wow.
That's pretty generous. That's pretty generous.
so we'll do this. All right. So we'll go, and and literally I have the answers on a different sheet because obviously somebody's been looking at the notes. So I'm glad I did that. So again, question number 1: in which year did Microsoft release Windows 95?
1994.
I'm going to
1997.
go with 96, just because Dennis took 94. Somebody want to give the right answer?
2002.
Windows 95. Well, I didn't know if this was a trick question, so I'll
I
say
thought it was a
it's
trick question. I think it was released in December 28, 1994.
You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do too? I'm going to keep score in somewhere if this actually does.
Why are you being an asshole and not telling us the answer?
I'm going to. I'm just wait. These are the worst on. If that was your official answer,
Then AJ has 1 and Dennis has 0 because it was 1995. So, but I think you're.
you didn't say it. You said my 6.
Oh, you did.
Well,
I changed
originally.
it.
All right, originally. You guys.
I would change. You guys would give 1 answer. I was hoping this was supposed to be.
Oh
more.
my
Okay.
God, I hate
Okay.
this
But you
game
realize
already.
They only released this once in 1 year. It didn't keep releasing Windows 95 every year. So you're giving multiple answers. But so you both had 0. So that's good. That's good. What I hope is if this does take off, then we'll have a scoreboard of the people who have done this show and their scores up there to 10.
Oh wow, so I'll it'll be publicly known that I had 0.
Yes, we'll go first. I mean,
Cool.
It's only question 1. There's still 9 more you can do.
Which Ninja Turtle would you be if you had to choose?
Donatello, hands down. Come on.
Why Donatello?
He was the technophile then.
I'd probably be Michelangelo, the one who just jokes all the time, eats pizza.
So, we were looking for Leonardo. We're looking for leaders here. We're looking for true leaders. And you both you didn't choose a leader.
This is awful.
Well, this
oh my.
there's the
Probably
leader.
captured, didn't he? Wasn't Leonardo the one that always got captured?
But he was the leader. It doesn't matter.
That
It doesn't
really
matter.
a good leader at that point.
Wasn't he also the whiny
Then-
one? Maybe
I'm pretty
like
sure
Raphael, he was
maybe-
like,
Maybe
cranky
that's why
at
I
least, you know?
gravitated more towards Leonardo, because he was the wine.
I think you would gravitate more towards
I'm just,
Raphael.
all right,
You're the
okay,
curmudgeon of it.
you get half points on that. We'll give you half points. That's fair.
That's very leadership like.
See, I just solved a quarrel. I'm good.
True leadership quality right there.
Well,
Now, this one we may have to cut later, but I would love to know your favorite HubSpot employee with a mohawk. We'll give you time. Give you time. Can I search the people directory? Like, do I have to answer it?
yeah, this is a hard one.
Oh, bet. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Sure it is.
I'm kind of blanking
Yeah,
on
you
it, so
I'm going to go with Luke Summerfield because he actually does have a mohawk, or did at one point. I think.
oh my god, I love
No,
Luke. Luke is amazing.
Yeah, no, you both don't get the credit for that. I'm just going to let you know right now.
True. Love Luke to death, but if that's your answer, you're not getting the points. The answer would have been me. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm making this whole thing enjoyable, so the answer would have been me. But that's fine.
for yourself. You're
I would
making it
I think
enjoyable
that
for
ain't
you.
for who? I just thought I was enjoying.
Also, another leadership quality is like make sure that everyone sucks up to me.
That's
got it.
in the
got it.
books I've read. That's pretty much how it's outlined. So it's just
All right, Leo. All right, Leo. You keep on
books.
going.
All right, we're on question 4. How many cats do you need for a colony? I want to
Well,
say
it
8
depends
out
on
of
what
10.
country.
That's just because I like the
No,
show.
Yeah.
Colony.
It depends on what country you're in. Where are we located for this? Because it changes by region.
This is a United States question.
Is it Eastern United States or is it Western? Because also, again, regional.
African
Elevation.
Indian swallow. Which one carries the coconut? East of the Mesa-Dixie line, I believe.
Oh, wow. Thank you
North
for
of
that.
I-80 or south of I-80? Because everybody knows that Illinois
Yeah,
is
north and south.
provided by
I-80
I-80.
makes a big, that makes a big difference. You can just take Illinois out of this completely because it's.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna say.
so
I'm gonna say 5 cats.
That's close, AJ. And Nick, I think you know the answer to this one. It's clearly 7.
Actually, it's gonna be 3 or more, so you both get the points. All you had to do is not say
Anything less than 3.
good. And I'm glad. This is good. Good. This is going good. Now number 5 is going to be how many months have 28 days?
1.
Yeah, there's only one, but it depends on the year. Is if it's a leap year, it
yeah.
doesn't have 28 days.
let's
Then
say-
it has
we'll say on
21.
average.
How many?
Where's
months
your
is-
logic in there?
So 0.25.
On average, how many months is 28?
On average, is a quarter of the years of the months have 1.25 of 1 month is 28 days if you average it out over all the years.
A lot of math. Well,
Sure,
we're gonna
Dennis.
say I'm just gonna say Fury. Well, you're both wrong because all months have at least 28 days in that. There is just one particular stat. I mean, it was a
There
good
is
or
all
I love the mathematical explanation behind it, but at a certain point, I didn't know this was going to be like Taskmaster where I have to think off what the box. I pretty much tuned you both out when you didn't give me the answer I was looking for. Just waiting to the end, so it's fine. For this one, what would you call a group of pandas?
Panduck.
I would call it. You
I can go more than
I
I
mean,
want.
I want to give you a quarter of a point. This isn't even close, but
a corral.
I mean, you guys should both really know this one because it's an embarrassment. That's actually what a group of pandas is called. It's called an embarrassment.
really.
Wow.
So you insult us
As well.
with the question.
during-
How
so this-
brilliant is that? With the question. That's like,
Why
What
did
a-
I agree to this?
why didn't you read
What a
further down the
leader you
notes?
are.
You should have read further down the notes.
What a leader.
Should have read further down the notes. All right, question 7 is going to be in the Pac-Man video game, what is the name of the pink ghost?
Pinky.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. I think it is Pinky. Is that your answer, or are you just agreeing with Dennis because he gave the right answer?
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with Dunnett because I
All right,
don't.
we'll give you that. We'll give you that. That's correct. That is correct. That's good. Okay. Now, who created the character? Since we talked about the show off a lot today, who created the character Sherlock Holmes? Arthur
Doyle.
Conan Doyle.
Awesome. Yep. Both got that one. See,
No, you're
Sir.
turning it around.
Sir Arthur Conan
to
Doyle.
both, but you're turning it around. This is what I like about this. See, you started on a low point, but you're bringing it up, and I'm really happy about this.
So rephrasing that, you broke us down, and now you're
Leadership.
rebuilding on
Leadership.
top.
That's leadership.
Wow.
Leadership. That's leadership. I'm bringing you up. It's not my fault you stumbled off the block, but I'm bringing you guys up. So it's good. So question 9, what can be broken but is never held?
My heart.
My spirits.
I'm thinking about that one. I'm going to give you both half points because that was really good. I didn't expect that. It's a promise. It's a promise.
Right.
That was good. That was good. As in like JavaScript promises or promise? Just the number promise. Like promise me that we'll be able to do this again because this was actually really fun. But okay. So final question. Now you guys you're doing good. I mean, you almost have. I think you have an identical score here, which is really AJG on the notes. This kind of makes sense. But for the very last one, what has to be broken before you can use it?
A promise. No, my heart. An egg.
A glow stick. Dennis is going to get the point on that one and probably going to beat you out because it is an egg. An egg is something that has to be broken in order to use.
So does glow.
Sorry,
It's not going to glow unless you crack it. I mean,
It's
not
true.
judges
It's
tell
true.
me.
The judges were very specific at what they were looking for, and it was not that.
Whoa. I didn't even hear the judges. The multiple judges
I mean,
out
they're
there?
right here. You don't. I mean, they don't want to be on camera, but it's fine. You guys. I mean, you did not get a sailing score. I mean, we're not. You're not getting a promotion anytime soon with this. But I'm really, really happy with how you guys turned it around at the end. It was a really good. I mean, I'm like chef's kiss. It was good. I like this. All right.
What was the final score?
The final score for Dennis was you got 3, 4, 5. You got 5. That was good.
It's not
It's
really
not
hard math.
Interesting. It depends on what school you go to. Eastern, we might have gotten away with it.
All right.
And AJ got 4. So I mean, 4. Sometimes I mean, it's like
I
was 4 before. It's okay. I don't mind.
I think the glow stick's an extra credit point. I mean, that's thinking outside the box.
I think
there.
I will give you a quarter of a point for glow stick. So you got we'll go into some really weird scoring possibilities here. So we'll give you 0.25.
Donatello top.
Yeah, we'll get you 0.25. That's gonna get you at 4 1/4. Perfect. It's
You.
I like this. This was good. This is good.
well,
This makes me feel bad. I hate it.
Let's seal the deal as the failure. I mean, over. So why don't we, if there's anything you guys want to plug or if there's any place that people can find you and talk with you, if you like talking to people, I do. Why don't you go ahead and give a shout where people can find you.
Yeah.
Go AJ.
I was going to say go for it, Dennis. But I mean, really, LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to get a hold of me. Or, Google AJ Laporte and look for the emoji that is my face like this as the favicon, because I absolutely love that. So, yeah, that's really all I got. Otherwise, if you see me on the street and you want to yell at me, I usually respond to like, hey, you, or things like that.
A lot of people do, but that's fair.
That was fair. How about you?
To get a hold of me, just contact AJ. The other AJ, though, the singer.
Yeah, but
we're
keep
good
going.
friends. Or like, is that speaking? No, it's LinkedIn's always good. I think it's like linkedin.com/Dennis Edson or something like that. Something really fancy.
LinkedIn is linkedin.com. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah. Thank you. We have some developer hugs coming up, I guess. One on the 17th and one on the 24th. 24th is going to be CMS React, which is going to be cool. And the one on the 17th is we just launched mobile chat SDK so you can put chat on your app in your iPhone or Android apps, which is kind of cool. But yeah, become a developer hug member because I've already loaded it up. We're going to have a ton of content over the next couple months.
Awesome. And where can people find you? Well, I mean, depending on how the reviews go on this, you might be able to find me here again. I'm not quite sure. But if not, Meyer is always a good place. You'll always find me there, probably at the hours of 7 to midnight. And LinkedIn is really the third place. Probably better finding me at Meyer than LinkedIn. But yeah, I think it's Nick Laporte on LinkedIn. other than that, if you're a developer who's already in our developer Slack, I'm also there as well. Connect.com, should plug that as well. On
Oh boy. Yeah. Make me feel bad now, like plugging all these things.
well, to be fair, he has a notes list. He was prepared. Leonardo, I'm just saying. But yeah, those are some of the main places you can find me. And then hopefully more videos I'll be doing for the YouTube channel for the HubSpot developers. I owe Dennis a couple more videos.
That's great.
That going. And then, yeah, hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping this. I'm hoping we can continue to do this and do more of these. And if you guys, I would be more than happy. I would be more than, I would owe you guys big time if you continue to do this with me. So
this has been a huge waste of my time, and I refuse to ever do it again.
This is really catapulted my career. You got to start getting all the animation skills ready for Walt, because it's late light here.
You on the farm.
Well, with that, thank everybody for watching. I hope you made it through the video, and see you again soon.